The Interstellar Council gathered inside a chamber so vast that stars glimmered through its transparent dome. Dozens of alien species filled the seats, their voices mixing into a constant hum of arrogance. At the center stood a projection of Earth, glowing blue and green. A reptilian delegate hissed with amusement. "This is the human homeworld? A backwater planet of primitives? They still cling to fire and stone." Another alien, tall and insect-like, clicked its mandibles. "Humans are myths, stories to frighten children. They speak of great warriors, yet their fleets are empty. Their skies hold only fragile satellites." The chamber erupted with laughter. The council mocked Earth openly, dismissing it as irrelevant. None believed that humanity could pose a threat. To them, Earth was a planet lost in time, unworthy of attention. But far away, beneath the crushing depths of Earth's Pacific Ocean, something ancient stirred. Seismic sensors on the ocean floor trembled with strange readings. Waves rolled across the surface, as if something vast shifted in the darkness. At a research station in the Mariana Trench, alarms screamed. Scientists stared at their monitors in disbelief. "Movement detected," whispered one technician. "It is not tectonic. It is metallic. Satellites in orbit confirmed it, massive shapes hidden beneath layers of sediment and rock. The objects were not natural. They were machines, silent and waiting. World leaders gathered in secret. Generals pored over classified data, their faces pale. For decades, rumors had circulated of structures buried under the sea. Some thought they were myths. Now the myths had come alive. Divers and submarines were dispatched into the trench. As they descended into the black depths, their spotlights revealed walls of metal stretching endlessly. Not a ship, but a fortress. Not one, but many. A pilot's voice shook over the comms. "I see a hull, markings carved into the steel. It is not rusted. It is not broken. It is alive." As cameras streamed the images to command centers across the globe, the truth spread among those with clearance. Humanity's ancestors had left behind something extraordinary. An entire fleet of warships rested beneath the oceans, larger than any vessel built in modern times. The ships were silent, yet they pulsed faintly, as if slumbering. Their cores still glowed with energy after thousands of years. On shore, soldiers assembled along coastlines. Jets patrolled overhead, every nation united under one command, their old rivalries forgotten. The world was holding its breath. Then, without warning, the ocean began to roar. Towers of water erupted into the air as the sea split apart. One by one, enormous shapes rose from the depths. A ship the size of a city broke the surface, water cascading from its armored sides. Its black hull gleamed with alien markings. Giant cannons lined its flanks, rotating slowly as if remembering how to aim. Another ship followed, then another. Colossal shadows darkened the waves, their engines awakening with a low thunder that shook the skies. People across Earth looked upward as clouds parted. Satellites broadcast the images worldwide. Billions watched in awe and terror as humanity's forgotten fleet returned. Inside the alien council chamber, the laughter ended. Delegates froze as live footage spread through every network. The insectoid ambassador clicked nervously. "Those ships, they should not exist," the reptilian delegate hissed in fear. "If the myths were true, humanity is not a child race. Humanity is heir to something older than us all." Back on Earth, crews scrambled to board the rising giants. Docking bays opened as if welcoming them home. Soldiers stepped inside, weapons forming around their armor automatically. The ships recognized them. In control rooms, ancient consoles flickered to life. Holographic displays lit up. Words appeared, written in an unknown script, yet somehow every soldier understood them. "Welcome, descendants. The fleet has waited. The war is not over." Admirals exchanged stunned glances. Who had built these ships? Why were they waiting for humanity? The questions had no answers, only warnings. Above the Pacific, the first ship lifted into the sky. Its engines ignited with a blinding glow, tearing through the clouds as if Earth itself had given birth to a star. The ocean foamed and boiled beneath its power. The second followed, then a third. Entire formations of warships, dark and colossal, rose higher and higher. They climbed into orbit, blotting out the sun with their size. The world trembled. Humanity was no longer bound to the surface. Humanity now carried the weapons of legends, but the Council did not cheer. They stared at the rising fleet with horror, because they remembered something. Long ago, before the Council was formed, there were whispers of a war that had nearly ended the galaxy. A war waged by ships of black metal, commanded by warriors called human. Those ships had vanished without a trace. Until now, in orbit, the largest ship turned its massive guns toward the stars. Its targeting arrays lit up, tracking signals beyond Earth. On the ground, a soldier whispered into his comms, his voice trembling. "The flagship is locking on to something." The command screens confirmed it. The cannons were armed. The first target was not Earth. It was beyond the sky. The ship's core pulsed brighter. Its ancient voice echoed across every frequency, awakening complete. "Preparing to fire," the admiral shouted in panic. Civilians screamed across live broadcasts. The alien council sat frozen, their pride shattered, and then, with a sound like thunder tearing across the heavens, the first colossal cannon charged. The flagship's weapons locked on, glowing brighter and brighter. Aimed directly at the skies, the alien council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Silence spread like a poison as the holographic screens flickered, showing the impossible. Earth's oceans had split, and titanic black warships were rising into the sky. The insectoid ambassador gripped its podium, claws trembling. "Those ships, they carry the markings of the old war. They cannot be real." The reptilian delegate snarled, his scales rippling with fear. "Real or not, they are moving. The humans are taking control." The chamber erupted into chaos. Dozens of species shouted at once, their voices clashing into a storm of panic. Generals demanded action, politicians screamed for calm, and spies tried to send messages before the council sealed communications. But the truth could not be hidden. Across the galaxy, live transmissions spread from human satellites. Billions of aliens were watching the same vision, Earth's forgotten fleet rising like giants from the sea. The alien speaker slammed his staff against the floor. The chamber fell silent. "If humanity truly commands the warships of legend, then we face an enemy older than our council itself." Meanwhile, on Earth, soldiers marched into the awakened ships. The corridors glowed with dim blue light, metallic walls humming as if the vessels were alive. Every step echoed with history. A young soldier removed his glove and touched the steel. Symbols carved into the walls pulsed faintly at his touch. "It knows me," he whispered, awe in his voice. Inside the command decks, ancient consoles lit up, scanning each human who entered. Helmets formed around their heads, armor sealed across their bodies. The ships were not rejecting them. They were accepting them. One admiral stood at the bridge of the largest warship. Before him, holographic displays unfolded, showing weapon arrays, fleet formations and power cores still burning with energy. A message glowed across the screen. "Descendants of Earth, the time has come." "Take command," the admiral gave a slow, steady order. "Begin system checks. Prepare for launch," engines thundered. One after another, the titanic ships rose from the ocean, water pouring off their armor in cascading waterfalls. Lightning split the sky as the ships tore into the atmosphere, their black hulls blazing with energy. On the surface, millions of humans looked upward, stunned. Children pointed at the heavens, their eyes wide with wonder. Veterans clenched their fists, proud tears falling as the legends they had only heard in whispers came alive before them. In orbit, the warships aligned into formation. Each was the size of a city, bristling with weapons no modern race had ever seen. They moved with precision, guided by AI systems that had been silent for millennia. Alien scout ships, watching from the edge of Sol, panicked. One commander ordered a vessel to approach closer. "We must test their strength." Humans cannot control such power. The scout ship moved in, engines burning bright. It broadcast warnings, demanding humanity explain themselves. The Terran fleet did not answer. Instead, the nearest warship turned, its colossal cannon locking on. Energy gathered at its tip, growing brighter until it burned like a second sun. The alien crew shouted in terror. They tried to turn away, but it was too late. The cannon fired. A beam of pure white energy tore through space, hitting the alien ship in an instant. The vessel vanished, reduced to atoms. Not even debris remained. The council chamber watched the footage in horror. Dozens of ambassadors collapsed into their seats. "One shot," whispered the insectoid ambassador. "One shot destroyed a warship." Across Earth, the reaction was different. Humanity cheered. The fleet was not just alive, it was unstoppable. The admiral of the flagship raised his voice across the command network. "We are no longer bound to our planet. The stars are open to us. These ships were waiting for us, and now they are ours." Soldiers saluted. Crews prepared for war. The fleet drifted silently above Earth, their black hulls reflecting the light of the sun. But in the alien council chamber, panic spread. Emergency meetings were called. Fleets were mobilized. Spies sent desperate reports. One elder, older than most present, stood trembling. "Do you fools not see what this means? These ships are not simple weapons. They are relics from the War of Ashes, a war that burned half the galaxy before our council was born. And if humanity now commands them, then every world we know is at risk." The delegates fell into terrified silence. At that very moment, aboard the flagship Eternal Resolve, the admiral received a message from the ship itself. The voice was mechanical yet strangely human, echoing across the bridge. "Scanners detect alien fleets approaching. Shall we engage?" The admiral stared at the displays. Blips were appearing on the edges of Sol, dozens of ships gathering. The alien council had already sent their warships to surround Earth. The admiral spoke softly but firmly. "We will not hide. We will not surrender." The crew braced themselves as the fleet adjusted course. Engines flared, cannons locked, and the ships prepared for battle. From orbit, humanity's fleet stood like titans, casting shadows across Earth. The people below stared upward, knowing history was changing before their eyes. And in the alien council, one delegate whispered the truth that no one wanted to hear. Humanity was never weak. Humanity was waiting. On the outer edge of the solar system, hundreds of alien warships entered formation, engines burning as they advanced toward Earth. Humanity's fleet turned to face them, cannons glowing. The first confrontation moments away. The skies above Earth burned with light. Colossal warships, black as night and bristling with ancient weapons, drifted into formation. Their engines thundered across the heavens, shaking mountains and oceans below. Humanity's forgotten fleet was awake, and the galaxy was watching. On every screen across Earth, families gathered in silence. Farmers, workers, students, and leaders all stared at the same broadcast. Ships larger than cities hovered above the clouds, their shadows darkening the land. It was no longer a secret. Humanity had inherited something beyond imagination. In the Interstellar Council, chaos reigned. Messages flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Allied empires demanded answers. Rival species screamed for action. Some called for immediate war, others begged for retreat. The word human was no longer a joke. It was a threat. One alien ambassador slammed his claws onto the council floor. "If humanity controls the fleet of myths, they could destroy us all." The insectoid ambassador leaned forward, mandibles clicking nervously. "Destroy us? No, conquer us. Those ships were designed for war. They obey no rules. They will not stop." On Earth's flagship Eternal Resolve, Admiral Marcus Hale stood at the bridge. Round him, holographic displays flickered to life. Crew members worked with precision, their hands moving across ancient controls, as if they had trained for this all their lives. The ship guided them, teaching them with symbols and voices that echoed across the command deck. The Admiral's voice was steady. "Status report." "Shields at full strength," answered a technician. "Weapons calibrated. Engines stable." "The fleet awaits your orders, sir." Across the fleet, soldiers marched into gleaming corridors. Armor sealed itself around their bodies, adapting perfectly to each soldier's form. Their weapons unfolded from racks, powered by energy cells that had never run dry. Every step echoed with destiny, one young officer whispered as he loaded his rifle. "It feels like these ships knew we were coming," the admiral replied, his gaze fixed on the stars. "They were waiting for us, waiting for humanity to rise." Then the ships began to move. The first warship broke orbit, engines blazing, pushing into the void. Another followed, then another, until an entire formation of black steel giants launched into deep space. From Earth's surface, they looked like a fleet of shooting stars, climbing higher and higher until they vanished into the dark. The world erupted in cheers. Humanity was no longer chained to Earth. Humanity was claiming the stars. But in the shadows of space, alien scouts watched in horror. Their reports flashed across the galaxy. The human fleet is operational. Their weapons are beyond calculation. They are preparing for war. The Council tried to deny it, but the truth spread faster than they could contain it. Civilizations whispered the word with new fear. Humans, the myths were alive. Inside the eternal resolve, the Admiral opened a channel. His voice was carried not just across his fleet, but across the galaxy. "This is Earth. For centuries you mocked us. For centuries you believed we were weak. But we have awakened. We do not seek to kneel. We do not seek to beg. We seek what is ours, the stars." His words were broadcast to every corner of known space. Billions of aliens watched in silence as the declaration rang out. In the council chamber, faces turned pale. Some delegates demanded immediate war. Others whispered surrender. None could erase what they had seen. Back in orbit, the human fleet continued its ascent. Ships aligned in perfect formation, black hulls reflecting the light of the sun. Their engines burned like fire across the void. Then, without warning, a new sound filled every comm system. It was not human. It was mechanical, ancient, and powerful. The voice of the fleet itself. "Enemy fleet detected. Coordinates locked. Authorization required." The Admiral froze. The displays lit up with red markers. Dozens of alien warships were massing on the edge of Seoul. Their engines glowed bright as they approached. Humanity's first test was coming. The Admiral raised his head. "Fleet Command, prepare for contact. Form battle lines." Engines roared. Cannons shifted. Shields activated. Soldiers strapped themselves into their stations, hands tightening on their controls. On Earth, people watched with bated breath. The future of humanity rested on this moment, and in the Alien Council, the reptilian ambassador whispered what they all feared. "If humanity wins here, nothing will stop them." At the edge of the solar system, the alien fleet warped in, hundreds of ships surrounding Seoul, weapons locked, their massive formation pressing toward Earth. Humanity's fleet adjusted course, black cannons glowing with deadly light. The first battle was about to begin. The alien fleet burned into Seoul like a storm of fire. Hundreds of warships emerged from warp, engines glowing red, weapons armed. Their commanders expected a quick show of force. To them, humanity was an upstart species clinging to relics. They would crush Earth in minutes. But waiting near the orbit of Mars, black silhouettes drifted in silence. Humanity's awakened fleet stretched across the void, colossal warships larger than anything the aliens had ever seen. The ships hung in formation, their cannons glowing faintly, their armor reflecting the sun like blades of obsidian. The aliens hesitated. The admiral of the flagship Eternal Resolve stood at the center of his bridge, calm but unyielding. "Hold position," he ordered. "Let them come to us." Across the fleet, human soldiers strapped into their stations. Pilots gripped their controls. Engineers checked energy cores that pulsed like living hearts. Every man and woman felt the weight of history pressing on their shoulders. On Earth below, billions watched the live feed in silence. Families gathered around screens. Children clutched their parents' hands. Every soul knew the truth. This was the battle that would decide humanity's future. The alien commander broadcast across all channels, his voice filled with scorn. "Humans, relinquish your ships. Return to your planet and you may live. Resist and you will be annihilated." The admiral gave no answer. Instead, he raised his hand. "Targeting arrays online," reported his crew. The warships adjusted, their colossal cannons locking on. Light gathered at their tips, growing brighter with every passing second. The aliens fired first. Hundreds of plasma blasts streaked across space, glowing trails carving through the dark. The sky seemed to rain fire, and then humanity struck back. The Eternal Resolve fired its main cannon. A beam of white light, brighter than the sun, cut through the void and struck the nearest alien dreadnought. The ship was torn in half instantly, its remains scattering into flaming debris. The rest of the fleet followed. Dozens of human warships unleashed their ancient weapons, beams slicing through alien hulls like paper. In seconds, the proud vanguard of the alien fleet was reduced to wreckage. The alien commanders shouted in panic. "Impossible! Their weapons cut through shields." But it was true. The human fleet's firepower was unlike anything in the galaxy. Their cannons ignored armor. Their beams pierced shields. The aliens were fighting against weapons designed in an age when war itself was different. Fighter swarms launched from both sides. Alien interceptors darted forward, but human drones poured out of the awakened ships, moving with terrifying precision. Guided by ancient AIs, they shredded enemy squadrons in coordinated strikes. The battle raged across the void. Explosions painted the darkness in red and gold. Broken ships drifted lifelessly, their crews lost to the cold. On Earth, people cried out in awe as alien ships burned above Mars. Humanity was winning, but the alien fleet was vast, and they would not retreat. Their commanders ordered a desperate charge. Dozens of dreadnoughts surged forward, energy cores glowing bright. The admiral watched calmly. "Steady! Do not break formation." The enemy fired everything they had. Blinding volleys of plasma and missiles streaked across space, hammering against human shields. For a moment, the fleet shook under the impact. The decks rattled. Soldiers clung to their stations. One officer shouted, "Shields are holding, Admiral." The Admiral gave his reply, voice firm. "Then we hold." The Eternal Resolve and its sister ships countered with another devastating salvo. Alien dreadnoughts exploded one after another, fireballs lighting the void like a chain of dying suns. But not all went as planned. A wounded alien warship, its hull torn and burning, refused to die. Its commander snarled and gave the ultimate order. "Ram them. Take their flagship with us." Engines flared. The massive alien dreadnought, crippled but still alive, turned and accelerated straight toward the Eternal Resolve. Its bulk was enormous, and its core burned with unstable energy. On the human bridge, alarms blared. The crew shouted warnings. "Collision course. Reactor unstable. It will detonate on impact." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "All batteries, fire at will." The fleet unleashed a storm of fire, beams tearing through the charging dreadnought. But the alien ship refused to stop. It pushed through the damage, its engines screaming as it closed the distance. The crew braced for impact. On Earth, billions watched in horror as the alien dreadnought hurled itself directly at the human flagship. The Eternal Resolve fired its main cannon one last time, but it was too late. The alien ship slammed into the flagship's side, a blinding explosion erupting across the void. Fire tore through the hull. Shockwaves rattled the fleet. The broadcast cut to static. In orbit, debris and fire floated where the Eternal Resolve once stood. The fate of humanity's flagship and its admiral was unknown. The galaxy held its breath. The galaxy held its breath. On screens across Earth and the alien council chamber, the image of the human flagship vanished into fire. The alien dreadnought had rammed it head-on, detonating in a blinding explosion that shook the void. For a moment, it seemed as if humanity's greatest ship, its heart and symbol, was gone. Panic spread through the ranks. On Earth, millions screamed. Soldiers aboard the rest of the fleet clenched their fists in horror. Was their admiral dead? Was the dream broken before it even began? And then, through the fire and drifting debris, something moved. A shape emerged from the blaze. Black armor glowed red from the heat, torn plates already knitting themselves back together. Slowly, steadily, the Eternal Resolve pushed through the wreckage, its colossal frame unmarred. The human flagship was alive. Inside the bridge, alarms went silent. Broken panels sparked, smoke curled, but the crew stared in shock as systems began to repair themselves. Damaged steel plates shifted, sealing holes with liquid metal that hardened instantly, and then came the voice. "Do not fear, descendants. I was built for war everlasting." The crew froze. The admiral stood still, his eyes fixed on the glowing console before him. "Identify yourself," the ship replied, its voice deep and resonant as if speaking from another age. "I am Eternal Resolve, core intelligence of the First Fleet. I have waited for your kind to awaken. I have slept for thousands of years, and I will not fall." Shock rippled through the crew. The ship was alive, not merely a machine, but a living intelligence that had survived untouched across eons. On the council's screens, alien delegates shouted in panic. "It is impossible. No ship can regenerate. No ship can endure a reactor blast like that." The reptilian ambassador slammed his claws onto the table. "This is no ordinary fleet. These are not human toys. These are the ships of the War of Ashes, rebuilt by time itself. If humanity has bonded with them, then the galaxy is doomed." Back aboard the Eternal Resolve, systems fully restored. Holograms glowed across the bridge, revealing schematics far beyond modern understanding. Weapons hummed with renewed power. Energy surged through the ship's core. The admiral gave the order, voice steady. "Return fire. Show them what we are." The flagship responded instantly. From its flanks, dozens of hidden cannons unfolded, each glowing with deadly energy. The ship unleashed a storm unlike anything seen in living memory. Beams of light shredded through the alien fleet, cutting dreadnoughts in half, vaporizing cruisers, scattering fighters like insects before a hurricane. The aliens screamed, "Retreat! Retreat!" But there was no escape. The human fleet advanced in perfect formation, the flagship leading the charge. Every weapon fired in rhythm, every strike tearing open the enemy ranks. In minutes, what had begun as a proud alien armada became a graveyard of burning wrecks. On Earth, the world erupted in cheers. Humanity had not only survived, humanity had triumphed. Yet deep inside the Eternal Resolve, the Admiral's thoughts were heavy. "This ship speaks as if it remembers a war we do not know. What kind of war was this? Who were these ships built to fight?" The AI's voice returned, solemn and cold. "The war was against the dark. The war is not finished." The Admiral frowned. The dark. But before he could ask more, alarms screamed again. The AI spoke sharply, warning. "Intruders detected aboard. Unauthorized life forms present on multiple decks." Soldiers drew their weapons, racing into the halls. In the shadows of the ship, alien saboteurs crawled through the corridors, their cloaking devices flickering. The Council had sent them, hidden aboard the ramming dreadnought before the explosion. Now they spread through the flagship like poison. Gunfire erupted. Human soldiers clashed with the assassins in brutal firefights. The corridors echoed with shouts and the roar of energy rifles. On the bridge, the Admiral gritted his teeth. "They sent assassins. They knew brute force would not work." The AI spoke again. "Warning, intruders approaching engineering core. If they succeed, the ship will be destroyed from within." The Admiral slammed his fist against the console. "All units, stop them. Hold the ship at all costs." The fleet outside pressed its advantage, alien ships retreating in chaos. But inside, the true danger grew. One assassin squad reached the reactor chamber, planting devices that pulsed with red light. The AI's voice echoed with rare urgency. "Critical. They are arming a self-destruct protocol. If triggered, my core will detonate." The Admiral's eyes widened. "How long?" The AI answered coldly. 3 minutes." The flagship shook as the saboteurs activated their devices. Lights flickered red. A countdown began to echo across the ship. Humanity's greatest vessel, its living symbol of power, was now a ticking bomb. The flagship's decks trembled with red light as the countdown echoed across the speakers. 3 minutes to detonation. Soldiers sprinted through steel corridors, rifles raised, every second dripping with urgency. Humanity's most powerful ship, the Eternal Resolve, was now a ticking bomb. On Earth, billions watched the live feed, their hearts pounding. The alien council, however, remained silent. Too silent. Their reptilian eyes flickered with hidden satisfaction, and their whispers did not escape the Admiral's notice. "Councillors," he said, his voice sharp as a blade. "Did you send them?" The chamber erupted in denials, but the reptilian delegate's smug expression gave the truth away. He leaned forward, claws tapping the table, his voice low and venomous. "Your awakening was never meant to happen, human. Those ships were buried for a reason. We cannot let your kind rise again." Gasps filled the chamber. Humanity's allies turned in outrage, but the reptilian ambassador showed no fear. His words cut like a knife. "If Earth is allowed to control these relics, every race here becomes your servant. Better that you die in fire than rule the stars." The betrayal was complete. Back aboard the Eternal Resolve, gunfire echoed through the halls. Human soldiers clashed with cloaked saboteurs, each fight more desperate than the last. One squad held the line at a junction, their bullets tearing through shimmering alien bodies. Yet for every assassin that fell, two more pressed forward, driven to reach the reactor chamber. "Hold the corridor!" A sergeant roared, blood dripping from his armor. "Nobody passes." The AI's calm, deep voice filled the comms. 2 minutes until core breach. The saboteurs must be stopped." The Admiral clenched his jaw, his mind racing. "AI, can you disarm the bombs remotely?" "Negative. They are shielded against my interference. Only direct removal is possible." The Admiral made his decision instantly. "Then I'll do it myself." He grabbed his sidearm, ignoring the protests of his officers. "Admiral, no! If I don't go, the ship falls." He cut them off, his tone unshakable. "And if the ship falls, humanity falls." The bridge crew watched as he strode out, determination in every step. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Some species shouted for immediate retreat, fearing Earth's retaliation. Others demanded the humans surrender their fleet. But amid the noise, one alien delegate whispered a phrase that sent a chill through the chamber. "The dark will return now. Humanity has stirred the grave." Those words spread fear even among the bravest. What did the council know that humanity did not? Back on the flagship, the Admiral's boots pounded against the deck as he descended toward engineering. The firefight grew louder. He arrived just as a squad of saboteurs planted the final device against the reactor wall. The glowing red countdown showed 60 seconds. The Admiral opened fire. His bullet struck one assassin in the throat, dropping him instantly. Human soldiers surged forward at his side, unleashing a storm of fire. The corridor erupted with smoke, sparks, and blood. One saboteur broke through the line, sprinting directly for the Admiral. His cloaking flickered, revealing sharp fangs and armored scales. The alien lunged with a blade, but the Admiral sidestepped, catching the arm and driving his pistol against the attacker's chest. He pulled the trigger. The alien collapsed, dead. 30 seconds, the AI intoned. The Admiral sprinted into the reactor chamber. Red lights pulsed across the walls, illuminating the glowing core at the center of the ship. The sabotage devices clung like parasites to the reactor's surface, their timers flashing down with merciless precision. "Tell me how to stop them," he shouted. The AI's voice echoed, "Each device must be severed from its anchoring node before detonation. But be warned, manual removal is lethal if done incorrectly." The Admiral didn't hesitate. He tore the first device free, sparks flying as energy burned across his gloves. Pain seared his hands, but the device went dark. One down, he reached for the second. 20 seconds left. On the bridge, the crew watched the timer tick down on their screens. "He won't make it," whispered an officer. In the chamber, the Admiral ripped free another bomb. His body trembled from the shock, but he pushed on. Sweat poured down his face, his vision blurred, but still his hands moved. 10 seconds. The last device blinked brighter than the others, its glow deep crimson. "Warning," the AI said. "This one is primed with a failsafe. Removing it will trigger immediate detonation." The Admiral froze, chest heaving. "Then how do we stop it?" The AI paused. "There is only one way. Someone must carry it away from the core and sacrifice themselves." The soldiers behind him went silent. The Admiral closed his eyes, ready to answer, when suddenly a hand seized the device first. The sergeant who had fought at the corridor's front gripped it tight, his face grim but resolute. "With respect, Admiral, this one's mine." Before anyone could stop him, the sergeant sprinted toward the reactor doors, the glowing bomb in his arms. The timer flashed 5 seconds as he vanished into the corridor. The Admiral roared his name, but it was too late. The explosion came next. The explosion shook the flagship like thunder. Fire tore through the corridor, hurling bodies and smoke into the air. For one heartbeat, the crew thought the eternal resolve was lost. But then the reactor's glow steadied. The AI's deep voice filled the bridge. Critical breach prevented. Reactor stable. Relief swept through the ship. But that relief came at a cost. The sergeant who had carried the bomb was gone. His sacrifice saved the vessel, and with it humanity's only chance. The Admiral stood in silence, his fists clenched. "He gave everything," he whispered. Then louder to the entire ship, "Remember his name. Remember his courage. Humanity lives because he chose to die." The soldiers roared in unison, their grief burning into resolve. Outside, the alien fleet wavered. Their commanders argued over comms, their formations breaking apart. They had expected the sabotage to end it. Instead, humanity's flagship endured, and now it hungered for vengeance. On the Council's chamber screens, the reptilian ambassador hissed in fury. Impossible. They were supposed to burn. But another delegate, an insectoid with trembling mandibles, leaned back in dread. "Do you not see? You have created martyrs for them. Their rage will be unstoppable now." And unstoppable it became. The Admiral returned to the bridge, eyes hard as steel. "All batteries prepare to fire. No more warnings. No more mercy. Today we remind the galaxy what humanity is." The AI responded at once, weapons primed. "Shall I activate the Leviathan protocol?" The Admiral hesitated. "Explain. It was forbidden in the past. But with your authorization, I can unleash the hidden arsenal of this ship. Entire fleets can be erased." A hush fell over the bridge. The crew exchanged fearful looks. To wield such power was to step beyond survival. It was to declare humanity a galactic terror. The Admiral's decision came swift and merciless. Do it. The eternal resolve changed before their eyes. Hidden panels opened across its vast hull, revealing colossal cannons and missile bays unseen since ancient wars. The ship glowed with the energy of 1,000 suns, its shadow blotting out the stars. The alien armada tried to flee. Too late. The flagship's cannons fired in sequence, beams of energy tearing through dreadnoughts as if they were paper. Missiles streaked across the void, splitting into swarms that hunted enemy ships one by one. Each detonation painted space in fire. The human fleet advanced behind the flagship, their courage renewed. Smaller warships struck with surgical precision, carving through weakened enemy lines. What had begun as a battle turned into an execution. From Earth's surface, billions watched in awe. For the first time, they saw their kind not as victims or survivors, but as conquerors. Cheers thundered through cities. Children pointed at the sky with shining eyes. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was power, but in the council chamber, panic spread like wildfire. Delegates screamed for emergency withdrawal. Others demanded sanctions, armies, anything to stop Earth's rise. Yet amid the chaos, one ancient-looking alien stood calm, his eyes like black pools. His voice silenced the chamber. "You fools, do you not understand? This is only the beginning. The dark will hear them now. Humanity's wrath is a beacon." The word spread like poison. The dark. Back in orbit, the battle reached its climax. The last alien dreadnought detonated in a burning storm, its wreckage scattering like ash. The silence that followed was deafening. Space, once filled with enemies, now lay littered with their corpses. On the bridge of the eternal resolve, the crew waited. The Admiral stood at the center, breathing hard, staring at the devastation. The AI's voice was calm, but grave. "The Leviathan Protocol has succeeded. But know this, it cannot be undone. The galaxy will fear you. "And the dark will come for you." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Then let them come." At that very moment, alarms blared again. The AI spoke sharply. "Unidentified signal detected. Not of this galaxy. Not of any council race. It is ancient. And it is moving directly toward Earth." The crew froze. On the view screens, something vast shimmered at the edge of the stars. Bigger than any fleet, darker than any void, it crept forward, devouring light as it came. The AI's voice trembled for the first time. "It is them." The dark, the stars themselves seemed to vanish as the colossal shadow grew. The fleet that had crushed humanity's enemies turned in silence, every eye fixed on the impossible shape. The war they thought they had won was only the prelude. The void trembled. From the edge of the galaxy, a shadow moved like a living storm. Stars vanished in its presence, swallowed by a darkness older than time. On Earth, billions watched in silence, their breath caught in their throats. Humanity's victory over the alien fleet was already forgotten. A far greater terror had arrived. On the Eternal Resolve, the bridge crew stared in horror as the screens displayed the vast silhouette. It was not a fleet. It was something else entirely. "AI," the Admiral said slowly, voice tight. "What am I looking at?" The ship's deep voice answered, heavy with dread. "You are looking at the enemy we were built to fight. The dark, they are not ships as you understand them. They are hunger given form. They consume stars, planets, and life itself." The crew went pale. The Admiral clenched his fists. "And they're coming for Earth," the AI confirmed. "Yes, your world shines too brightly now. The awakening of this fleet, the power of the Leviathan Protocol, it drew them across the void. They will not stop." Panic rippled through the fleet. Smaller human captains sent frantic messages, their voices shaking. "How do we fight something that eats stars? Do our weapons even matter?" The Admiral silenced them with a single command. "We fight! We fight with everything we have." The AI spoke again, but this time its tone shifted, firm, resolute. "Then you must awaken the others," the Admiral frowned. "Others?" The ship's holograms flickered to life, showing the oceans of Earth. From the depths rose shapes, enormous, silent, slumbering warships hidden for millennia beneath the seas and ice. "The First Fleet was never one ship, Admiral. Beneath your world lie dozens more, each built to fight the dark. I can awaken them, but the cost will be great. Their power is tied to Earth itself. If they rise, your planet will never be the same." The Admiral's face hardened. "If Earth falls, nothing matters. Wake them." And so the seas boiled. Around the globe, oceans split as titans rose from the depths. Mountain-sized warships, their hulls encrusted with coral and stone, shook free of their prison. Ice caps shattered as colossal vessels broke through glaciers, their cannons glowing as if remembering ancient wars. From deserts, buried under sand, more giants tore themselves loose. The sky above Earth filled with shadows, human shadows. The forgotten fleet was awake. On the Council's chamber screens, alien delegates screamed, "This is madness! The humans have summoned gods." Others collapsed into silence, realizing there was nothing left but to watch. The Admiral's voice thundered through comms, heard not only by his fleet, but across Earth itself. "This is humanity's stand. Today, we fight not for survival, but for the right to exist, for the right to live free." The awakened fleet roared to life, cannons charging, engines blazing. Together, they formed a wall of steel between Earth and the approaching dark. The enemy struck first. From the shadow came tendrils of black energy, stretching like claws, tearing space itself. They lashed at the human fleet, shredding smaller vessels in seconds. A chorus of screams filled comms as destroyers vanished in bursts of light, but the ancient warships held. Their shields flared, their weapons answered with fire brighter than suns. Beams of energy cut into the tendrils, severing them, though each grew back as fast as it was destroyed. The battle became chaos. Humanity fought with fury unmatched, but the dark were endless. Every second felt like an eternity, every death another wound in Earth's heart. On the bridge, the Admiral stood firm, his voice unshaken even as the ship trembled. "Hold the line! If we fall, Earth falls." The AI's voice whispered to him almost like a prayer. "Admiral, there is one final awakening, but it is not a ship. It is you." The Admiral froze. "What do you mean?" "The First Fleet was not built only to fight. It was built to bond. Its commanders were meant to merge with the ships themselves, becoming more than human. The choice is yours. If you accept, you will never return. But you will wield power beyond imagining." The crew turned toward their leader, waiting for his answer. The Admiral looked once more at Earth, at the blue and green world shining behind the fleet. He thought of the sergeant who had died for them, of the billions watching in fear, of the legacy they carried. His voice was steady. "Do it!" The ship's core flared with light. Energy surged through his veins, his eyes blazing as he felt the eternal resolve not as a vessel, but as part of himself. Ship and man became one. The flagship's cannons burned brighter than ever, the Admiral's voice echoing not only through comms, but across the stars themselves. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not break, and we do not fear the dark. The fleet roared and surged forward, a wall of light against an endless shadow. The final war had begun.